Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bryce Weiler. I'm a blind student who's attending graduate school at Western Illinois in my second year studying sports administration. Previously to that, I spent 4 years at the University of Evansville in Indiana, majoring in sports management and sports broadcasting. But it was a long time previous to that my love and enjoyment of sports began. It began laying in bed, listening to a radio broadcast of the Fighting Illini and the Indiana Hoosiers, listening to Brian Barnhart describing the thrilling action for Illinois, and Don Fisher describing the action for Indiana. It was through meeting both of those individuals a few years later and previously listening to them on the radio that I decided that I wanted to attempt to work in sports. Now, working in sports would be harder for me since I cannot see, so I was unable to play softball, basketball, or baseball as the individuals in this class have done. However, I decided that I was going to overcome those obstacles and to create my own journey and path through sports and in life. It started out with meeting former Butler head coach, now current Boston Celtics head coach, Brad Stevens, during my senior year at the Indiana School for the Blind. And Coach Stevens was kind enough to give me a tour of Hinkle Fieldhouse. We shot free throws together. And he's a great man who understands basketball, but more importantly, Coach Stevens understands the game of life, and that there's more important things in life than just winning and losing basketball games. And that's something that coaches struggle to understand from the junior high level to the top of Division I. It was through meeting Coach Stevens that I was able to experience college basketball and experience Butler's first run to the NCAA championship game, where they subsequently unfortunately lost to the Duke Blue Devils and Coach Mike Krzyzewski 61-59 when Gordon Hayward's shot bounced off the rim from half court. And that was a tough day for me because Coach Stevens had a chance to win a national championship and Butler was just unable to pull it out. He would later have a second chance, but Butler would subsequently lose to the Connecticut Huskies and Jim Calhoun 53-41 after shooting 28% in the Dome in Houston, Texas. But before that second national championship appearance, I transitioned from the state capital of Indianapolis, to Evansville, Indiana on the Ohio River to begin my first year studying sports management and sports broadcasting at the University of Evansville. Now, during my first year, I had the pleasure to be around for 4 seasons. A man who coached your teacher, Clint Bryce, for a season or 2, Coach Marty Simmons, who played at Lawrenceville High School. And Coach Simmons gave me the opportunity to sit on the Evansville men's basketball bench, which is something that I've always wanted to do, be a part of a college basketball program, and something that I did not think that I would be able to do since I can never see. Now, some people might say, Bryce, you never played a single minute in a ball game. You sat on the end of a basketball bench by a team manager. But being able to sit on the basketball bench gave me the opportunity to experience college basketball, to meet coaches such as Greg Marshall of Wichita State, hold all of his false teeth because he had his teeth knocked out whenever he was younger, and be around practices, players, and coaches. Through that, I was further able to experience college basketball, and I was able to be part of a team, which is something that I always wanted to be able to do, and something which I was unsure that I would ever have the opportunity to be a part of. During my freshman year, I began interviewing some of the coaches at Evansville for pregame radio interviews. After overcoming a stutter, which was something that I did not think that I could do, but having some great help from my friend Tom Benson, who's a broadcaster at the University of Evansville, I was able to overcome the stutter and to begin to commentate games during my sophomore year. So freshman year transitions through. I continued to learn how to shoot free throws. I'm still quite awful and will occasionally miss and hit microphones and television cameras that are around the basket at Old Broward Stadium. Sophomore year begins, and I decided that it's time to branch out and find other coaches from conferences across college basketball. Because while I've enjoyed my time visiting with Coach Marty Simmons, Jimmy Elgis, and Chris Hollander, I only know coaches from one conference and one team. So it's time to branch out. So I thought about all the coaches in college basketball whose games I like to listen to. And the man whose games that I loved listening to the most was the head coach of the Louisville Cardinals, Coach Rick Pitino. So I figured out Louisville's email system, and I emailed Coach Pitino, and he emailed me back. And on August 25th, he called me and we began talking college basketball. Coach Pitino is a big fan of Coach Stevens, who's the current head coach of the Boston Celtics, and someday wishes he would consider taking the Louisville job, depending who might succeed Coach Pitino. So we talked about college basketball, and we talked about Coach Pitino's journey through life, the things he's had to overcome, scandals that have been of his doing and some that have not been at that point in time. More have recently surfaced. And through that, I was able to learn about college basketball, but to learn from a man at the highest level of the game that there's more important things in life than just winning basketball games. It was a lot of fun to talk to Coach Pitino that first year through the non-conference portion of the schedule, which was a bit easy, even though whenever he was around players, he would act like the next team was quite tough. And then when he'd finish walking through the locker room, he'd tell me how easy they were going to be. And it was great to also begin commentating sports my second year at the University of Evansville. I commentated some women's basketball games, and there was a broadcaster who did not want to commentate with me because he did not believe that I could do it since I cannot see. But my friend Tom Benson convinced this individual to let me commentate with him, and since then we've done a plethora of sports together: baseball, softball, and even a few soccer games. And that was tough for me because I've always had people doubt that individuals such as Rick Pitino and Brad Stevens would take the time to speak with me, that I could commentate sports on the radio, or why I would even spend time trying to email coaches and things like that. And I've always had to go out and create my own journey through sports and journey through life on my own, because no one ever really wanted to help me do that. So all these people that you've heard about, they are individuals that I've contacted or emailed or called myself through figuring out their email system or finding someone who wants to help me speak with them. So the NCAA tournament comes around in 2012, and Louisville is off. They race to the Elite Eight, and they face Coach Pitino's former protege, Billy Donovan, who is the head coach now of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Coach Donovan was then at Florida. So they end up beating Florida, and Coach Pitino, Louisville's cutting down the nets as they advance to the Final Four. And Coach Pitino tells Louisville center Gorgie Jang to go up and cut me down a piece of Final Four net. And Coach Pitino gave up his piece of Final Four net so that I could have a piece of net. And that was a big Final Four for him, the first one after he decided to continue coaching after Louisville lost to Morehead State 2011 because he thought about quitting, becoming a college basketball analyst for CBS or ESPN. So for Coach Pitino to give up his piece of net, it really showed the impact that I had on his life. And there was another impactful moment for me during that season. Evansville was facing Butler, who was then still coached by Brad Stevens, to open up the Aces' new $30 million arena at the Ford Center. And during the second half of the ball game, some of the students in the Evansville student section began making fun of Coach Stevens for wearing glasses. For those individuals did not know the true story behind why Coach Stevens had to wear the glasses. During Butler's senior day victory over Illinois Chicago in 2011, Coach Stevens started having trouble with his vision and being able to see. So he was rushed to a hospital where doctors gave him glasses that helped cure his vision over time. But during the first game against Evansville, he still needed to wear the glasses. And a few weeks after he had those glasses, because Butler was in the NCAA tournament racing its way towards the second straight championship in 2011, he called me and told me that he was scared that he might not ever be able to see his family, to be able to coach college basketball, and to be able to do all of the things that he wanted to do in his life, since he did not think that he would be able to see. And I told him that I was happy that the doctors were able to fix everything, and I was definitely thinking about him during Evansville's senior day ceremonies after defeating the Illinois State Redbirds to close out Roberts Stadium. But on that day, a cold Saturday in November, it was tough for me to listen to the students in the Evansville student section making fun of a man who'd been so influential in my life. And although Evansville ended up winning the game in overtime, 81-78, with some key three-pointers from Colt Ryan and the other aces, the enjoyment of that game was deeply lessened for me by the students making fun of Coach Stevens for the glasses. And through that, I learned, and I will continue to preach and speak about, that there's definitely more important things in life than just winning games. And that's exactly one of the first things that I thought about whenever Coach Pitino sent Gorgie Jing to the top of that ladder to cut me down a piece of net. That somehow, some way, a blind individual from Illinois had made such an impact on Hall of Fame basketball coach's life to be included in their Final Four celebration. So a few days later, Coach Pitino calls me because he'd like to get the address so he could mail me my extremely large piece of Final Four net from when they beat Florida. So I tell him my address at the University of Evansville, and he tells me if the Cardinals ever win a national championship that he'd be willing to give me a national championship ring. Now, since I'd read every single article that existed at that point in time about Coach Pitino, I'd read about Mr. Bill Catley, the longtime equipment manager at the University of Kentucky. Now, Mr. Bill, as Coach Pitino liked to call him, who passed away in 2008, was the only man who Coach Pitino said he would ever give a championship ring to who was not on his Louisville staff. So for Coach Pitino to decide to give me a championship ring, I knew that I'd really done something to impact this individual's life. So that really meant a lot to me, and about 1 year later, on a warm April day in Atlanta, Georgia, I would have that opportunity to receive that championship ring. But some more events were yet to come in my life. Now some of you might wonder, or be wishing why I was up here, or wishing that I stayed at home and that Clint had not invited me. And the invitation might not have happened if it wasn't for my first invitation to ever do this. On December 10th, 2012, Evansville was facing Murray State, who was formerly coached by Steve Prohm, who's now coaching the top 10 Iowa State Cyclones. Now, Evansville was playing Murray State. Coach Prohm invited me to come speak to his team. And Murray State had an All-American guard, Isaiah Cannon, who I believe is still playing for the 76ers in the NBA. So in the middle of my speech, I called Isaiah Cannon up to the front of the room, and I had him use my cane to go and find my friend who was off in another corner of the room. So you can imagine a confident All-American guard using my cane, and Isaiah ends up walking into a wall with a thud, and it was quite interesting. He stayed safe, did not become injured. And Murray State ended up defeating Evansville the next day by around 10 points. And the Evansville Courier and Press wrote about my speech to Isaiah Cannon, starting off the speech with how Isaiah Cannon, Murray State guard, walked into a wall. So all of the Evansville fans read about my speech to Murray State. And some of the fans became frustrated at me for speaking to the Racers because they thought that I was going to inspire them to win, or that I did inspire them to win after Murray State ended up defeating the Aces. But when I speak to teams, whether the home team or the opposing team, I don't talk about the basketball game, the softball game, the baseball game, whatever the case might be. Because if a coach or a fan base is so caught up on wins and losses, they don't understand the true value of sports and college athletics. The true value of sports or college athletics is to give individuals a chance to expand their horizons and to overcome the boundaries of sports to gain experience that can last this individual for a lifetime. And that's what I always tell fans whenever they challenge me for speaking to groups or teams. So that speech finishes, and junior year at Evansville continues transitioning through, and it comes to Louisville's national championship. The Cardinals defeat Wichita State and the hot shooting Shockers by knocking down more threes. And it's off to face John Beilein and the Michigan Wolverines at a chance for a national championship. So Louisville has to overcome Michigan shooting, Spike Albrecht, and various other Wolverines, and they're ahead 80-76 with about 4.2 seconds on the clock. Michigan fouls. Louisville's at their end of the court shooting 2 free throws, which they subsequently make, and it's 82-76. And I know that the championship is over. Coach Pitino has his second national championship, second at 2 different schools, one at Kentucky in 1996 and the one I'm speaking about at the University of Louisville in 2013. And net cutting ceremony happens again on CBS television. Gorgie Jing, top of the ladder, cuts down a piece of net, brings it down to Coach Pitino, which he mails to me a couple weeks later after he finishes celebrating his championship and watching the Louisville women try to win a championship, which they are unable to do, unfortunately. And then a few months later, I receive a national championship ring in the mail from Jostens. After getting it resized, because the Jostens individuals did not get it sized properly the first time, I was able to wear it every day. And it's something that I always think about putting on every day. And I put it on before I take the hardest walk of my day over to pick my cane up out of the corner or unfold it from where I have it stashed from the previous evening. Putting on my national championship ring gives me the opportunity to think about all the obstacles that I've had to overcome in my life. People not thinking that I can do things, people not thinking I can commentate games, wondering if I can ever find a job working in sports. And picking up my cane makes me think about all the things that I might never be able to do in my life. Being able to see, being able to drive, being able to live my ultimate dream of being able to see. People always ask me, or ask you guys, I'm sure, or Clint has conversations about this because this is what you do in a college setting. You talk about what your dream job is in life, and you say general manager of a sports team, or president of a sports team, or playing in the NBA or Major League Baseball. And those are all great dreams, but what do you do if whatever dream you might have, all the money that you might earn from making that might never be able to let you live the ultimate dream of what you want to do in life? And my ultimate dream is to be able to see. No matter how much money that I'm ever able to make in my life, that might not ever be enough to pay for some sort of an eye surgery that can give me vision or partial vision. So I'm always going to be living in a world of sounds and darkness where I have to depend on people such as Clint and Coach Grayson to help me out, or get me here to speak to you, or come in the gym to shoot baskets with me. It's really a great testament to the individuals in this country, whether it's famous people such as Rick Pitino, who I've told you a lot about, or individuals such as Kylie Lewis and Maggie Hagan at the University of Evansville, or Summer Tracy at Western Illinois. Individuals who, up until this moment, you probably had never heard of. But they've had just as large of an impact on my life with helping me get to events or speaking to groups or helping me get my tray in the cafeteria as individuals whose names you can easily Google, such as Rick Pitino. It just shows you that no matter a person's pay grade, whether it's millions of dollars or such as Rick Pitino gets, or it's thousands of dollars as Coach Clint gets coaching Alma Central College women's basketball, if the salary that an individual makes truly does not matter, it's the heart and soul of that individual that's the important thing. Now, Coach Grayson Flitner told me not to brag about him, but it's that point in time when I'm going to brag about him. He coaches as an assistant both the men's and the women's basketball team here. Now, most of you may or may not have read about Coach Grayson, but you should type his name into Google, type in news for Grayson Flitner, and you can spend an enjoyable couple of hours reading about his exploits with the Gardner-Webb Running Bulldogs out of Boiling Springs, North Carolina. Now, Gardner-Webb played Kentucky, as I hear some individuals reaching for phones or potentially computers to read about Grayson's exploits. And he helped his Gardner-Webb team defeat Kentucky and various other teams during his college basketball career, and a great showing against Duke and against North Carolina. But the thing about Coach Grayson Flitner that I like the best, and about Coach Clint and Coach Mike, is that they understand basketball, but more importantly, they understand the game of life. I speak to so many coaches, whether in college basketball as a young assistant or a junior college head coach, or they're so concerned about getting to the next level or making it to the next pay grade or the next important job. And Coach Grayson, Coach Clint, and Coach Mike understand there's more important things than jobs in life. And it's helping student athletes to realize that while they might not be able to make it to the NCAA or the basketball, softball, baseball goal of their dreams, they can still have a productive life and be a productive member of society. Now, when I stopped telling you about my journey through life a few minutes ago, I was still at the University of Evansville. I graduated from there, and I transitioned to Western Illinois for graduate school because I was struggling to find jobs working in sports. Now, Western Illinois was a little harder for me because some individuals at Western Illinois, as has happened throughout my life, did not believe that I could do things since I cannot see. So it took some convincing last year, and even this year. But I've finally now been able to begin commentating sporting events on the radio. I commentated a doubleheader of Western Illinois men's and women's basketball last weekend. And on December 5th, I'm going to have my 100th radio broadcast ever, commentating with Stephen Davis of Missouri, Kansas City against the Iowa Hawkeyes. Now, getting to broadcast number 100 was something that I never believed that I would be able to do, because 100 games is a lot of people to convince that you can commentate. But I've been fortunate enough to be able to do that with the help of others. And that's been really fortunate because listening to games was how I grew up in sports, and that's how I want to be able to give back to sports and to the individuals who might want to be learning about basketball, baseball, or softball. And I told you previously that I went to graduate school because I was struggling to find jobs. Unfortunately, I'm still struggling to find jobs because the issues that were haunting me 2 years ago at the University of Evansville still have not changed because I still have not been able to see. So I still can't use social media very well, which none of you probably have a problem with that. You're quite the proficient tweeters or Instagram users or Facebook posters. And I still can't use visual graphics such as Photoshop, which is something that all jobs seem to need now. However, there are many things that I can bring to a university or college setting, such as speaking about my journey through sports, overcoming obstacles and challenges, helping get more disabled students to attend a college or university setting by showing these individuals that it is up to the individual person to set his or her own course through life. Through this and through other things, such as speaking to teams and boosters, I can show the members of a campus that there is more to life than wins and losses. There are more reasons to come to a sporting event for the free popcorn or t-shirt that you might receive. And it's about bonding together as a cohesive group, whether you're on the court or sitting in the stands, to help a team have success. And bonding together as a cohesive unit or a campus group to help all of the individuals at a school to have success in life. So I've been emailing college presidents from across the country, some of whom believe that I can only work in sports because sports is all that I've done in life. But I think that a long time ago, maybe on that cold November afternoon in Evansville, when I learned there was more important things than just winning basketball games when those students are making fun of Coach Stevens for wearing glasses, that my story transcended beyond sports because I began to want to impact others through the opportunities that I've been given to speak with coaches or to sit on a basketball bench. Because those are things, if you tried to buy them as a fan, you could probably buy sitting on a basketball bench for some program or pay for it at a charity event, or maybe that's something Clint might try to auction off to raise some money for his program or Coaches versus Cancer. But how do you put a true value or a true price on the experience that an individual is given from being a part of a team after never being able to do that, or sitting on a basketball bench and being able to shoot free throws and pass the basketball around before a basketball game? If I was being honest with you, sitting on the bench and especially shooting free throws and passing the basketball around before the games at Evansville and a little bit before Western Illinois when I'm given the opportunity are my favorite moments of the day on the court, because for a few minutes I'm able to put my cane on the scorer's table or under my chair on the bench and forget that I might never be able to live my ultimate dream of being able to see and go out to the middle of the court and shoot free throws or pass the basketball around and just enjoy having a ball in my hand and forget that there's many things that I might not ever be able to do, and enjoy being around people who care and who want me to be successful in my life. It's taken a great effort with people such as Rick Pitino, Brad Stevens, and the students that I mentioned before to help me be successful in my life. And media outlets only want to write about me, how a blind man can commentate baseball on the radio, as Fox News did a video on that. Or articles want to talk about how I go out and I email all these coaches. But they never want to write about the students who help me be successful every day. If I was here at Illinois Central College, I'm sure that I could find individuals who help me out every day, just as I did at Evansville and at Western Illinois. Without those individuals, I wouldn't have the time to help others or speak to groups or email all these coaches and people from all across sports. And it's just frustrating for me that because these individuals are not famous and you cannot Google them, that media outlets don't want to write about them. So wherever you go in your life, whatever job you might do, if you're smart, you decide to pick a career other than sports, and you switch to something else, you're always going to be given that opportunity to help out other individuals who might not have the same opportunities as you or might need more assistance. Furthermore, in your jobs, you're probably going to be faced with the opportunity to hire a disabled person or to not hire this individual. Now, there's going to be some reasons why you might not want to hire disabled person, such as being scared to guide them around, or the cost of extra technology or assistance that this person might need in the workplace. However, this decision is more than a chance to give a person a job. It's a chance to give a person a better opportunity at life. Many disabled individuals, all they want to do is be able to go out and impact the world and to show others how thankful and grateful they are to be given a chance or an opportunity, because they aren't given chances or opportunities. Or they've been told no so many times, or that they can't do something, that they're scared to go out and email people or talk to people because they've been told no so much, or they've heard you can't do this, that they believe that it's true. So sometimes it takes a chance for an individual, or a chance given this person to speak to a group or be a part of a team, to really let them expand their goals in life and to show them that anything is possible. I told you before that I don't have a dream job in life, so if there's one thing that you've learned from listening through my ramblings of sports and experiences, is to never forget that any second you step on the court or the field, it's 1 second more than I'm ever going to be able to step on the court or the field in a competitive situation. No matter if you get mad at Coach Mike or Coach Clem or Coach Conley or the softball coach here for not playing you enough, or for taking you out in a key moment, that one moment you're on the field is one more moment than I'm ever going to have. And it just frustrates me whenever players get upset at their coach for taking them out, or when a player doesn't play well, he or she might become frustrated. And I can understand that frustration to a point. But being out on that court or that field is something that I've always wanted to be able to do. And it's something that I want to be able to show individuals how fortunate they are to be able to do throughout the rest of my life. Because I know that if I'm never able to see that no financial compensation will ever make me happy, because at the end of the day, I'm always going to need people such as Clint, Coach Grayson, students, and various other people across the country to help me out to be successful in my life. Through emailing college presidents, I hope that one of these individuals will give me a chance to impact their college or university. Because while I am not a proficient Instagram user, social media user, Facebook poster, or tweeter, there are still things that I can do to impact individuals across a wide scope of disciplines, whether they are student athletes, faculty, current students, incoming students, boosters, or other individuals who might be influenced or want to be a part of the campus as a whole. I can influence them through my journey through sports, speaking about that, and helping commentating sports on the radio. Because whenever I commentate a sporting event, I speak about the lives of the players and coaches off the court. And when you're listening to ESPN, or you would watch, I would listen because I can't see, so many of those broadcasters speak about how players need to do better on the court. Well, I speak about players and coaches in their life. I will talk about the times that Coach Mike and Coach Clint spent playing basketball together, and how they are a great cohesive unit as two brothers leading their basketball program to success. Or I'd talk about how Coach Grayson Flitner is a man who understands college basketball, but is sometimes a teensy-weensy bit too shy to show his understanding to players and coaches, and that's quite an unfortunate thing, because Coach Grayson is one of the smartest, humblest young coaches that I've ever been around in college basketball. And he reminds me so much of my friend, Coach Brad Stevens, who coaches the Boston Celtics. But every time that I speak with him, I just miss Coach Stevens. Sometimes I have to call Coach Stevens and talk about Coach Grayson. Most of the time, he'll answer if he's not in a Celtics practice. But I think that I've spent enough time speaking about myself, and it's now time for a little show and tell and a game. So first of all, here is a Louisville National Championship ring, which you guys can pass around when you want to come pick this up. And here are some pieces of Final Four net from Louisville and Butler, from Bryce Stevens and Rick Pitino, which you can pass around and enjoy those. And now, I think it's time for a game. I'd like to, Coach Clint, can you have someone take over your filming duties for a second?
My what?
Your filming duties.
Oh, I'm just on a tripod.
Okay, well, I'd like you to come up here and one other volunteer, because it's time for a game.
Who you want?
Whoever wants to come.
Come on, Wes.
I was actually hoping she would come, because that makes my game better. Hi,
Hi, Missy.
I'm Bryce. Nice to meet you. Hi, Clint.
Hey, I'm Clint.
How are you?
Nice to meet you.
Good. And of course, you know her because she's on your team. All right, so Wesley, I'm going to have you go stand somewhere in the room, and I'm going to have you say a sentence. And then I am going to walk to you using my cane, and then after I show you how potentially easy or dangerous it can be, your head coach Clint is going to do it with his eyes closed. And then we're going to have questions after that. So let me find where I threw my cane. Because I threw it, I didn't lay it down properly.
There you go.
Alright, I've now found it. I'm going to unfold it. Now you should take copious notes or studying, Clint, because there's things that can trip you up. Probably some bags in the way, or water bottles, or chairs and tables and things. Oh, they're moving bags for you. So I'm now waiting on Wesley's sentence. Hopefully she doesn't hide somewhere. And then we shall demonstrate.
Does it matter what sentence I say?
No.
So that works then?
You just said one.
You found me.
Alright.
Alright.
Alright, so wait until I get back to Coach Clint, and then I'm going to have him shut his eyes, and then you're going to go stand somewhere else, and he's going to come find you.
Do I need to move again?
Huh?
Do I need to move or?
You don't need to move, she's going to move. Alright, so there are a lot of dangerous obstacles, and I don't really want you to get hurt, because that would be bad, and I might get in trouble. So make sure that you cover both sides of your body,
Okay.
and walk slowly, and if he's going to try to point you, save him.
There ain't nobody in here big enough to save me, Bryce.
Alright, so whenever you're ready, close your eyes, and Wesley will give you a sentence. And if you want a second sentence, if you're struggling, you can ask for that.
Hey, Coach. See what you got.
Alright. My feet are bigger than yours, Bryce. Say hi again. You're this way, but I know Casey's there somewhere. I don't want to hurt Casey or that table. How many points did you have the other night?
22.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty good. You remember that? Hi. I cheated.
Would you guys like to switch, or
Yeah, make her do it.
it's up to you?
I guess I'll try it.
Alright, Coach Clint, can you go stand in a spot? Here, that's right. Wait, you should probably close your eyes before he goes to a spot, because that defeats the purpose, sorry.
Yeah, I've had my eyes closed. I just didn't hear his big feet.
How many points you gonna have Saturday?
I don't know. It's a good question. Who do we play? Danville?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I feel like I'm running.
Taking the long route to get to Coach Clint.
If I'm gonna touch somebody's face, just tell me. Are you over here?
Yeah.
Yeah, got it.
Alright, I now have questions for both of you, so please come up here.
You have questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clint and Wesley, can you hop up here?
We're here.
Next question. All right. So I think that the most interesting part was the first time whenever, Coach Clint, you were depending on your player to really guide you through and to keep you successful, kind of like what happens on the basketball court, but more important in this moment because she could have had you falling over a table or tripping over multiple trash cans. Let's talk about how that was and how that might influence your coaching or your life to come.
We actually do drills like this where we've blindfolded people and they have to be able to communicate and have multiple teams where we have 10 or 15 voices. And also in practice we've also turned music on and stuff where they have to be able to hear my voice, which is easy to hear. So it's kind of one of those things where through us being part of the same team already, we've kind of got that communication and trust each other in that.
So Wesley, first off, you had to help Coach Clint find you, and then you switched and did it. How was it different watching him and then doing it yourself? Were there any fears that you had from watching him, as you kind of took a longer route to get to him, but you eventually made it? How was that? You seemed a little timid starting out, but then gained more confidence as you navigated through the maze of tables and chairs.
I don't really know how to answer that.
Think about it for a second.
I think from,
Would you like me to phrase it differently?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
What did you gain from this experience that is something that you will take throughout the rest of your time playing college basketball, but more importantly, into your life, from either watching Coach Clint do it or from you doing it yourself?
Trust in my coach, obviously, and my team, and realizing that he's a person too, and it's not like he has authority over me, but he can make mistakes. And it took him just as much time and effort to do what I did.
Was there any part of the experience that you thought would be more challenging or easier than it was?
I thought I navigated myself pretty well. And
I thought it would be easier because we obviously we know where everything is, but still,
Yeah.
I mean, you guys, you probably have a different sense of distance, and we take it for granted that we take 6 steps and we're somewhere. We knew, Wes probably knew the easier way was the long way. Where you don't necessarily see that in advance, where we know, in between the
I'm always
chairs.
taking the shortest way no matter what.
My thing was, even with the stick, you hit the bottom of the chairs or the tables, but you don't know what's above it. That's why I ran into the table, because I felt the table leg, but I didn't know necessarily where the edge of the table was.
All right, well, thanks for answering my questions. I have about 2 more minutes of comments, and I'll take any questions you guys might have, and maybe we can go shoot some free throws in the gym, and I can show you how much I've improved after 5 years. From watching both Coach Clint and Wesley do that, you learned that any incident or moment in your life when you interact with something is an experience that you can gain something from. It's all about what you make of those experiences. If you're too scared to come up and try using my cane or to ask a question of a blind or other disabled individual, then you're never going to experience what that's like. And fortunately for Clint and Wesley, they were able to open their eyes again and didn't have to stay blind for the whole day. But if you did have to experience what that was like for a whole day, you'd learn a multitude of things about walking around or navigating or walking in strange places, and that would really change your life and affect how you do things. So in closing, just don't ever take things for granted. Always be grateful for the things that you have in your life, and always be willing to help others, whether it's individuals who might need help around campus or individuals who might just want a chance in the world with a job. And always be grateful for being able to see and never take that for granted. I thank you for your time. Be happy to answer any questions you might have or listen to any comments you might have about my speech or journey through sports.
So if I have any questions, feel free to ask. Told you they're shy, Bryce. Nobody has any questions?
Who's your favorite NBA team and why?
Well, I grew up listening to the Pacers because that was the only NBA team that I could get on AM, FM radio, so I still enjoy listening to them. But now I like listening to the Boston Celtics because my friend Coach Brad Stevens is their head coach.
Who's your favorite college team?
Well, I'm friends with about 75 head coaches, but growing up, I was always a big fan of the Fighting Illini and still am, and I'm good friends with Coach Gross. I'd have to say the Fighting Illini are definitely up there, but also Evansville and Western Illinois because I have attended both those universities, and Louisville as well because of how much Coach Patino has impacted my life both in sports and otherwise.
Me and Coach Flitner want to know if you think Patino is guilty.
I'm not going to address that comment either way. I will just state that Coach Patino has been a man who has influenced my life, and he's been an individual who I truly care about, and I'm not going to really talk about the situation either way. Facts will be proven. Probably all of them will never come out in full detail. There's details that you and I will never know. So when I think about Coach Pitino, I think about all the great conversations we've had together, the times that we've visited at basketball games, the pieces of net he's given me, the championship ring, and how much a Hall of Fame basketball coach has impacted my life.
You closer with him or Brad?
Probably Coach Stevens now, because Coach Pitino, since his situation has started, has not really talked to individuals on the phone because that's what his lawyers have asked him to do. But I definitely still speak with both of them. He emailed me whenever he was in Puerto Rico coaching their national team this summer and told me about that experience. And I talk to Coach Stevens every couple of weeks about the NBA and how he's trying to influence his young Boston Celtics to be good players off the court, but more important, to be good players on the court, but more importantly off the court, because he's had some discipline issues with some of his younger players making their way into the NBA and being professional players. So he cares about the whole player, and that's not the case with most coaches in the NBA. They just care about victories.
Has Coach Stevens ever talked about the differences of college and from transitioning from college to the NBA?
Well, the NBA has a faster pace, and also he can't really control what the players do as much throughout the day. He can only ask them to be at practices and to show up at a certain time for the games. So definitely there's a higher level of trust between, I mean, not so much a higher level of trust, but hoping that the NBA players know how to keep themselves safe, because he can't monitor them all the time.
Anybody got anything else?
We can go shoot some free throws if you guys want. We still have time, don't we?
Yeah, we're gonna go down there if any of you guys wanna come down to the gym.
Shoot, he was 3 for 4 last time I watched him.
That's a lot of pressure.
You know what I mean?
That's a lot of pressure.
That's a lot of pressure.
So you can get a men's ball, please, Coach Brown.
Yep.
Ball right in front of him.
I promise.
You got it.
I'm not gonna pass.